Hello, and welcome to my Qualitative Research Design portfolio. My name is Susan Porter Voss, and this is for EDRM 801. This presentation is organized into two sections. Section 1 is a schematic of the proposed research study. Section 2 is a personal reflection on the development process. This final design portfolio utilizes a qualitative approach for examining the specified research problem. In the early stages of my teaching career, at the helm of an English literature classroom for the first time, it became clear to me that my students were struggling. They were not struggling to ascertain meaning for unfamiliar vocabulary or connect the elements of plot. They were struggling to make real and meaningful parallels with characters. In short, there was no empathy. Empathy is an emotional understanding of the thoughts and lived experiences of those around us. Empathy is credited for not only personal and professional success, but empathy also cultivates a broader worldview that encourages global connectivity. Empathy directly correlates to classroom climate and performance, as well as student behavior. Without empathetic reasoning skills, students cannot deduce character motivation or hypothesize contextual outcomes, and any understanding of human nature becomes an obstacle. But current studies suggest a stark decline in empathy, especially in young adults. According to a publicized study by sociologists at the University of Michigan, college students are 40% less empathetic today than their counterparts polled in the 1970s. This decrease in empathetic reasoning ability can be attributed to antisocial and deleterious behavior and can interfere with the development of the reading comprehension skills necessary in a competitive professional environment. What then can be responsible for this decline in empathetic reasoning? One leading cause can be identified: the advent of technology. Communication technology is filtered through a lens of personal preference, therefore excluding alternative vantage points of the human experience. This creates an us versus them phenomenon, which inhibits any true communion of ideas. Also, the unadulterated tidal wave of information that is passed through the hands of our students on a daily basis becomes an insurmountable pile that must be sifted through in order to produce the appropriate emotional response every time. The deficiency in literature exists when one considers that the present primary focus of the research is on the negative aspects most often associated with the link between psychology and technology. There has been very little exploration into the implementation of technology as a means to foster empathetic reasoning abilities in young adults. A growing number of psychological experts have seen merit in the idea of implementing mindfulness and art therapy as techniques to strengthen empathetic reasoning in school-age students. I believe that this theory, combined with the implementation of reflective journaling using appropriate technology resources, can enhance the empathetic reasoning abilities of high school students. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to explore the influence of technology on increasing empathy in high school literature students at Hannah-Pamplico High School. The central research question for this qualitative study is: how does technology affect empathy in high school students at Hannah-Pamplico High School, with two sub-questions regarding mindfulness and art exposure. The key phenomena associated with the study are empathy and technology integration, as they are defined here. I expect to discover and analyze how technology affects student empathy. The setting of the study is Hannah-Pamplico High School, a rural public high school in South Carolina with a current student population of 364. The participants in the study will be student volunteers enrolled in English 2. The study will be conducted in a standard high school classroom. The research design for the study follows the qualitative multiple case study profile. The qualitative approach is most appropriate because it is inductive. The case study is most appropriate for two reasons. It allows the researcher to focus on a social or human problem as well as the values we attribute to that problem, and it allows the researcher to closely examine the effects of an activity on an identified behavior or problem. The study will be divided into three segments or waves. In the pre-study wave, data exists in two forms: public documents and open-ended questionnaires. In the second wave, occurring throughout the study, data will be collected in the form of researcher field notes and observations and the reflective journals, which are private documents. The final post-study wave involves questionnaires similar to the ones issued in the first wave and focus group interviews of 5 to 6 students. Using the waves again, we can examine the procedures of the study. In the pre-study wave, the researcher will seek out IRB approval, hold parent meetings, create student accounts for all apps utilized, issue the questionnaire, teach the basics of mindfulness, and disseminate rubrics for art analysis exercise and reflective journals. In the second wave, students will practice daily mindfulness exercises and complete 1 artistic analysis assignment and 3 reflective journals per anchor text, of which there are 5. In the post-study wave, students will again complete open-ended questionnaires and take part in focus group interviews. There are 2 primary ethical considerations involved in the study. The first is ensuring that all participants are treated identically. All treatment will be equitable, only differentiated. The second ethical consideration is maintaining the privacy of students and conveying a realistic depiction of the results. In order to do so, no identifying information should be included in published findings. Accepted protocol to protect privacy include assigning pseudonyms or numerical codes to represent participation, and this information should be destroyed at the conclusion of the study. In this study, I will serve as designer and facilitator as well as the instructor for English 2. I am an alumnus of Hannah Pamplico High School. My roster for the upcoming academic year is likely to contain members of my biological extended family. Familial relationships will be disclosed if relevant, and student privacy will be maintained. I felt that qualitative research would be better suited for examining the depth of empathetic reasoning ability contained within the reflective journals when the journals are used as a data source. While quantitative techniques would be much faster, I felt that an extensive analysis could only be attained using qualitative techniques. I did struggle initially with the differences between qualitative introduction and quantitative introduction, but once I created the research questions, I felt I was more confident. And instructor feedback and the assigned textbook were instrumental in my ability to create this research design portfolio. Please see my references for further information.